Love and hate are two sides of the same fist. Love and hate. Um, when we when we accept that other people are extensions of ourselves, we learn to love. Now, most people hate the way that they should love, because hate is spawned from fear, and fear is the result of a desire to be secure, a desire to feel secure in oneself and one's family and one's tribal group of society and in one's political and socioeconomical status. But when it comes down to it, hate never accomplishes what it seeks to accomplish. When we stand on the precipice of society, when we meet society from our own individual understanding of it, we come to realize that hate is that which perpetuates itself downward, whereas love perpetuates itself upward. Love expands one's ability to connect with the universe. Not just with people, but definitely with people in society. But with animals, with plants, with the universe itself, because you want to preserve everything. Most people hate because they want to feel that sense of strength, of power, of ability above those they are afraid of. Hate is spawned from the fear of everyone else you view as being outside of your group or your class, your phase in life. Even sometimes you hate people because they're old or young. But not all of us do this, but many of us do this. And learning to love the way most people hate, what is required to achieve that ability is to release one's desire to place oneself above other people, and that's the most obvious. First step. Another step is that one must learn to view the whole of humanity as being necessary to preserve in order to advance oneself. There is no section of humanity, there is no section of human life on this earth that if left alone will make everybody else stronger. We must help every single section of society if we are to make ourselves stronger, if we're going to make ourselves more secure. And there are many views on what helping is, as far as giving them food or shelter or education enough to prosper in their own way, to people who simply don't have access to any of these things or have the ability to attain them. And there's also that factor of there are people who have access to these things but don't use them. How do you address sections of society that have access to all the resources they need but don't take advantage of them and rather either mooch off other people or basically leave society in a strain? And there's a large section of society which just wants to draw from it its portion of wealth, no matter what society we're talking about. And there is a global societal understanding, but there are many people in individual societies that want to draw on the communal wealth for themselves, regardless of the fact that they could work for themselves, that they could endeavor to progress society, but they choose not to. How do you deal with those people, and how do you not hate them? How do you love them? How we deal with these people is fairly complicated, and many political systems have addressed this problem through many different ideas. But my general thought on the matter, just coming off the top of my head, is that we must show that people below them will not tolerate, and people that they draw from will not tolerate them drawing on society without giving back. Now, how do we do this? I don't necessarily recommend a prison system or a system of punishment as much as reformation or rehabilitation. Now, whether you're very poor or very wealthy, there's many people that draw from society. The wealthy especially draw from society, and the fact that many of these wealthy people have many people below them that they draw wealth from by either lowering their wages, not giving them a fair shake, or just not giving them the piece of the profit that they deserve. And how do you deal with? It's fairly obvious how you deal with people in the bottom, the very poor. In this instance, it's basically just not giving them things. Then they're more likely to try and get things for themselves. But how do you deal with the wealthy people in society, especially when they have so much power through the money that they use to influence politics in any society, really? How you deal with these wealthy people is through a large network of social protest, of protest within that company that they're profiting from, or within that even mansion that they're profiting from, the maids, the servants, all the people who serve them, basically coming to them and telling them, okay, you have to pay us better, you have to give us a fair share. And in a company, you might have a lot of people who say, okay, well, I don't really care about getting more than I have, so I'm going to work, even if y'all strike, even if y'all work against the company. But as a whole, even if there's a lot of people that won't participate in this method, as a whole, people must approach their employers, approach those wealthy members that are drawing from their work more than they should, not giving them the fair profit that they deserve, the workers. You must approach them in any way possible. I would never recommend violence. In other countries, there is violence towards them, especially in the past in communist countries, but there's many examples. That's just one example. But I would recommend approaching this person as a person. I mean, besides the fact of striking, besides the fact of joining into groups and approaching people, you must assume that the people who draw on the wealth of society have that part of themselves that is very much human. And if you can appeal to that in whatever way possible, this is the most compassionate route. And we tend to assume that people in society that we don't agree with, or that we feel are mooches upon society or their families or what have you. But there is something to be said for appealing to that human aspect within us all. If we can appeal to that human aspect in us all, say, hey, maybe there's a better way that you can live, and maybe to wealthy people, maybe you don't need it as much as you have. Maybe you don't need 3 yachts. Maybe you don't need 10 cars. Maybe if you give more to your workers, your business will actually grow, and maybe in the long run you'll actually achieve more. You'll actually gain more wealth. Don't take the short-sighted approach of wanting money right now, but take the long approach of helping humanity and benefiting from that help that you give to your workers. Now, if we're going to talk about, on a personal level, learning to love people the way that most people hate others, it requires a detachment from what other people think about you. Because it is very unlikely that if you really care about what people think about you, what people that you don't know think about you, what people that obviously aren't thinking completely logically or fair towards you think about you, if you care about that, then you're more likely to be led to hate. If you decide, okay, look, I will listen to anyone who judges me. I will read on the internet. I will listen to them in person. And I will give their commentary a fair shake wherever I encounter it. But I will not allow them to affect my view of myself. I will not allow them to plaster what they believe about me onto me before I fully analyze it. And once whoever fully analyzes this, then you make a decision: do they have a point, or do they not have a point? And you act based on that. If they don't have a point, then just sever your desire to allow them to injure you in any way emotionally. If they do have a point, if you think that you should improve in some way, then improve. Think about it and work out ways to improve, but don't let it drag you down, even if you think that they're right. No matter where you encounter people like this, so it's internet, family members, friends, out in public, whoever judges you, you have to completely level your emotions. And then once your emotions are leveled, you have to approach it, okay, do they have a point? And then you work through if they have a good point, and then basically after that you either improve or you cut off your recognition of what they have to say. And this is a fairly simple technique, but it's something that's very, very rarely used. We tend to be offended very easily in society. I am a lot of the time, not nearly as much as I used to be, but a lot of the time I am. And and most people in society are offended by the little comments that they receive from any outlet, whether it be the internet, and society, your friends, family, what have you, like I mentioned. And we have to kind of gain a tougher hide, but also an understanding that we should always hear somebody out. And it doesn't have to be a long conversation internally. Just get a general sense of what somebody's saying, address it mentally within yourself, and then decide what you're going to do based on that. But never, especially if somebody's insulting you, never allow them to rule your existence by bringing out an insult back to them or a response from you that you wouldn't usually say. Because that's when they actually rule your existence and you've lost control. Always view it from a point of logic, and view it from a point of compassion, and saying maybe this person has other problems that I'm not seeing, and this is why they said that. Or maybe they simply just don't understand me, or maybe they do want to hurt me, but I can't really understand why they want to do that, so I just cut off that caring part of me about viewing what they say as relevant to who I am. But to end this here, I just want to say that it's very important on a personal level to address what somebody's saying mentally, but don't work it out with them if it feels insulting. Don't work it out with them as a person. Address it mentally, and then work it out with them as a person if you view them as having a point. If you view them as not having a point, as just being insulting, then basically just cut off the interaction, because that's the only way to handle it. And if we're talking, like I talked about before, if we're talking about on a societal level, with people who mooch on society, whether they be very poor or very wealthy, and the very wealthy mooch a lot more because they have more people that they control. When you're dealing with these people, you have to appeal to their sense of humanity, no matter what level of society that they're at. If you appeal to their sense of humanity and it fails, then you simply have to accept that there is a need to gain a group of people that can override whatever power they have in society. And you won't really do this with very poor people as much that are mooching, as much as very wealthy people who are mooching, which are taking a lot more from society. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This video was based on a request from a friend, and feel free to engage me in the comment section if you desire to do so. But I hope all of you all have a great day.